We can do it. Yes, we can. We can change things throughout the land.
I'm as mad as hell.
But we all
I'm not
must
gonna take this anymore.
lend a hand. We can do it. Oh, yes, we can. Oh, your neighbor over there, a bit bewildered, but he cares. He just doesn't know what to do. Join together and then they'll be two. There are others all around, scattered throughout the town. Reach out and you will see your numbers swell to 3. We can do it. Yes, we can. We can change things throughout the land. But we all must lend a hand. We can do it. Oh, yes, we can. Now together, you form a chord, and you're eager to find some more. You start knocking on other doors, and before long, you're up to 4. As your numbers begin to grow, you're expanding what you know. You're a movement when you reach by, and now watched by the FBI. We can do it. Yes, we can. We can change things throughout the land, but we all must lend a hand. We can do it. Oh, yes, we can. You may ask, what can one do when the problems seem so huge? Start to learn, work, my friends. Keep your eyes on the prize to the end. 'Cause the problems can all be solved with dedication and a little resolve. Obstacles slowly dissolve when we all just get involved. We can do it. Yes, we can. We can change things throughout the land. But we all lend a hand. We can do it. Oh, yes, we can.
Uh-oh. Let me see. I'm not on there. Anyway, welcome to our show, folks. And Kevin, take it away here.
Betcha. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the new year. Welcome to truthversusnews.inc. Boy, I'm so excited to be here in 2012, the very first show of 2012. We've got some neat guests that are coming up. We're going to start with one in just a minute, but I just wanted to remind you that this show is going to be about solutions. We're going to talk about miracles. We're going to talk about things that can actually be done to help fix and change and make our world a place where children grow up, like my son Corey, who's here today, like Keith Younghammer. We're going to make this a world where kids can grow up and have a wonderful time. We're so excited to open the show with a call-in from my dear friend Francis Ailey. Francis has designed the Fourth Corner Exchange at fourthcornerexchange.com. It's an alternative currency system, and we are going to get to hear a little bit from him about it. How's the technical? We're still working on technical.
Okay.
We're good. Can he hear us, and can we hear him?
Go ahead, Francis.
Hi there.
Hi, is that as loud as he'll get for us?
I can get it louder.
Yeah, we need to hear him. I'd like to hear him a little better.
Go ahead, Francis.
Hi there.
Hi, Francis. Tell us a little bit about Fourth Corner Exchange. We've got a picture of you that's going to go up on the screen here.
Okay. Fourth Corner Exchange is an alternative monetary system. There have, over the last 25 years, been many complementary currencies and community currencies and local
Can you
currencies
get him louder?
that have come into existence. But we are an alternative monetary system, so we share some of the goals and aims, but we've got a different long-term agenda.
Okay.
I need him louder if I could.
Go ahead.
Hey, thank you, Francis. You're the first time since I've been on the show that we've tried to call in, so forgive us if there's a few little technical difficulties. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I really can't hear you very well.
Oh, good. Can he be louder for me, for us?
He's fine.
I can't hear him.
Go ahead.
I can't hear him.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's about it.
That's all we get?
Okay.
All right, so when did you start Fourth Corner Exchange, Francis?
Go
Fourth
ahead.
Corner Exchange came into existence in 2002 when myself and a group of friends sat down to talk about what we were going to do when the next economic crash occurred. And we spent 2 years talking about our options, and we decided to create an alternative monetary system that would serve the needs of the people as opposed to the corporations when the crash happened. And we started trading in January 2004, and we've been trading continuously since.
Wow. And where have you traded? I've heard things about Bellingham and Bainbridge, and I've heard you're doing some stuff in other countries now. What's going on with that?
Yes, we started in Bellingham with just 12 members in 2004, and we have gradually expanded. So we're in many places now. We have members in many places in Whatcom County, Skagit County. We also have a sub-branch, a local group in Port Townsend, another smaller group in Port Angeles. We've got groups in Seattle, Bainbridge Island, Tacoma, and many other places in Washington State. And in the last 12 months, we've been expanding to outside of Washington State. So now we have members on the East Coast, in New York and Virginia, and we also have people in California, Colorado, and a couple other places.
That's great. And what was the deal? I heard Michael said something about Portugal or Iceland, or what was that?
Oh, yes, I'm in correspondence with people in Portugal, Spain, Italy, France, Germany, and Norway, and a couple other people in Sweden who are interested in our model. Because we're not a complementary currency, we're actually a complete and fully developed replacement for the mainstream monetary system. They're really interested in the model, and I'm in correspondence with people in those countries.
That's exciting. Now, give us just a brief overview. What is the model? How does it work? It's web-based, right?
It's really very simple. When you sign up to become a member, you effectively become part of our cooperative economy. And we run this cooperative economy very differently from the mainstream competitive economy. People are much more inclined to be helpful and to assist you and to look for a win-win deal as opposed to just be selfish and greedy. So you start with an account that starts at zero, and you can earn life dollars and spend life dollars from that account. You don't have to earn before you spend, though, and that's one of the unique features. The life dollar is valued as 1 hour of time in your community at a living wage. And that means that people value life dollars slightly differently depending on where they are on the globe.
And also depending on whose hour it is, I would assume that a doctor's life dollar would go for more life dollars on sort of a natural exchange system?
Good question. We don't legislate that everybody's time is worth the same. So you can charge any number of life dollars per hour for your goods and services to another member. And the deal is completely between the two members. They negotiate how much the goods and services is going to be charged for, and you can actually do deals with other members where you use national currency in combination with life dollars. So you can do 100% life dollar exchange, or you can do an exchange where you use part national currency and part life dollars. But we don't legislate the value of the goods and services that the members are exchanging. That's entirely up to the members.
Wonderful. We did a lot, this is sort of a conspiracy realist show that I'm getting to take the helm of for a little bit and enjoying. So we've done a lot about, the last show last year we talked about what we wanted to get rid of, and I decided that the two, it was sort of like a parent has to get rid of number one and number two when they have a child. And so number one and number two, I decided were cheating and stealing, and that the secret code words for that were privatization and deregulation. And we talked a lot about the privatization of the money supply. It sounds as if Fourth Corner Exchange is a re-democratization of the money supply.
It most certainly is. I totally go with you there on the privatization part, because the bankers have a private monopoly on the money creation process, and that locks out any kind of economic democracy right at the grassroots. So effectively, people are not working within a free market system. Everybody is told that they are, but the reality is that we're not. And this means that people don't have control of their own economic destiny, which is ridiculous and insane and totally unacceptable. So yes, we are reestablishing a free market system, and we have reintroduced economic democracy, and we're giving our members the power to create currency, money, as and when they need it in order to complete their transactions. In other words, we are a monetary system designed to serve the people instead of a monetary system that's designed to serve the bankers.
And real quick, is your website Four Corners Exchange or Fourth Corner, or what is it?
Fourth Corner.
Fourth Corner. Okay.
The website
okay,
is
good.
fourthcornerexchange.com, but you can also go to lifedollars.org. They both end up in the same place.
Okay, well, just for folks watching, the graphic is there. He got it. Fourthcornerexchange.com.
Yeah,
it's better now.
okay.
And that was quick. He had fixed
Yeah,
the graphic for us.
yeah.
And or lifedollars.org. People who've been watching this show are going to be pretty hip, just like Francis. I know that the people in the Occupy movements, I've been involved in Seattle and Everett. They are really, really aware of the truth behind the Federal Reserve and the fractional reserve banking system. And it reminds me of that giant computer that Goldman Sachs has sitting next to the stock market that steals a little bit off the top every time of every stock trade, and they're the only ones allowed to do it. That's sort of what the monetary system that we have to deal with now does. It just steals because it creates money out of debt.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And we're trying to address that whole scenario and the monopoly that the bankers have on the money creation process. I mean, this is a big question, and it actually goes back 300 years to the creation in 1694, the Bank of England. I think the Fed is part of that system, but the bigger problem goes back at least 300 years or more. And there have been some really outspoken monetary reformers. I mean, people like Vincent Vickers, who used to be a director of the Bank of England, who spent the latter part of his life speaking against the bank-issued monetary system. And a lot of this, the critics of the Bank of England and the Federal Reserve and the bankers' monetary system have been, they haven't been given a voice. I won't say they've been silenced, but they certainly have not been given a voice and a fair hearing. And I'm very much in favor of re-examining this whole monopoly that the bankers have and challenging their power. That's what I'm into.
That's exciting. If you were to recommend some sort of, we've been recommending Ellen Brown's Web of Debt. Are there links on your website to interesting documentaries or stuff about currency? I mean, you sound so knowledgeable. Where would you send us to learn more?
The first thing to do is to go and watch a video called Money as Debt. It's a 47-minute animated cartoon video that explains what is going on and how money is created as debt. And the second thing to do is go to the Money Fix website and watch the film called The Money Fix. That is longer. It's much more in-depth. I'm actually in that.
The Money Fix.
Film. I was interviewed for it along with a whole bunch of other people, some of whom were monetary reformers like myself. And that talks about some of the options we have. So those are the first two things to do. And they're available on the website, and you can watch them for free. I believe one or both of them are on Google, so you can actually go and watch them.
Great. Well, on the rest of our show, so this is the first show of the new year, we're going to be talking about democratizing important things, energy especially. We're going to be talking about democratizing food. We're going to be featuring Will Allen's aquaponics. We're going to be talking about Andrea Rossi's new ECAT, his cold fusion, or his I think they're using a different term, but it's really basically cold fusion device and the money problem. So thank you for starting off the show so wonderfully and being the very first guest that I've had since I got to take the helm of the show.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's an honor to be your first guest.
Oh, you betcha. I look forward to it. And how's the database coming? I'm going to urge you on air here. How's it going?
Oh, the new database is coming along quite fine. I've got some help with some other programmers in Seattle, so we're hoping in a month or two we'll be launching a brand new website, which will be lifecurrency.org.
Oh, wonderful. Lifecurrency.org. Okay, we're going to keep our eyes on that and hopefully have you back and maybe even Skype, or maybe you'd want to come into the studio if you're ever in town.
Oh, I'd love to come into the studio.
Oh, that'd be fun. Yay, a live guest. My first one of those too. All right, Francis, give our best to your family.
Will do. Thanks a lot.
You bet.
I hope your
Now.
life money exchange blooms like this flower.
Yeah, I like that idea. Did Francis gone? Did he catch that? Oh, I'll have to be sure and tell him when the show's going to air.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's.
Thank you very much.
In the way that's democratizing the currency. There are other ways and other solutions. One of the big ones is an infrastructure bank. And can we get on my computer here? How are we?
I'm on there.
Yeah, okay. Well, okay, good. Have you got a good one? Okay. Well, we're gonna play this now. This is a fun one, and I've got my power on. Okay, here we go.
Square it up.
Oh, it's on. Yeah. Oh.
Square it up. Where's the sound?
Uh-oh. Oh, sound messed up. Hold tight. Okay, we're gonna redo. Hold on. So Bob Hasegawa is working as our state representative, and he is working on a state infrastructure bank like North Dakota has, and it's an incredible idea. And we're going to explain a little bit. We're going to play a little video, then explain a little bit more about it. Let's see if this will go now. Hooray! We have technical opportunities, don't we? I think it's going to work now. Uh-oh. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Let's see if it's this. Uh-oh. My little speaker's gone sour, so I'll put this here. Here we go.
That are issued by the banks. And a life dollar is valued at 1 hour of time.
California's a failure because we haven't got a bank.
What would you do with a bank if you had one?
If California had a bank,
we could rightly use what's ours to cultivate the flowers and clean our septic tank. We could trade unemployment for service and enjoyment if we only had a bank. When we're stuck and need some credit and Wall Street says, forget it, we won't be in the tank. We could pass on lesser offers, borrow cash from our own coffers if we only had a bank. Oh, why, tell me why, the economy hit the floor. We're sinking lower than we sunk before, and all the jobs, they've gone offshore. We can stimulate production, construction, and instruction by standing for this plank. Just 11 million voters will be like North Dakota. We'll finally have a bank.
Bank of North Dakota keeps the state solvent and even growing while other states struggle with recession. North Dakota has the nation's lowest unemployment and foreclosure rate, largest budget surplus, and the only state-owned bank.
We'll finally have a bank. A bank.
Yay! So what he's talking about, what they're talking about is a state infrastructure bank. And Representative Hasegawa, do you have anything you want to say? I'm going to test my little, I have my sound system since we haven't, I'm gonna see if mine will work with Bob Hasagawa's thing here, because I would like for us to hear a little bit from our representative who is helping us to create a state infrastructure bank. Let's see if this. I'm still having that dreadful sound problem. Okay.
Ready?
Now let's see what he says.
Fundamentally,
There we go.
to me, it's like a no-brainer. I've looked and looked, and
Oh,
No, it's okay. I'm just going full screen. Sorry. Let's hope that doesn't.
I've looked and looked, and I don't really see a downside to it, frankly. So the concept is right now, when the state collects your tax dollars that you pay sales tax to, 6.5% of that goes to the state of Washington. The rest of it goes to local governments. So that state's portion of the taxes that you pay goes into a bank account that's held at the Bank of America. So that money is churning constantly, so the state never has a really deep bank account. Even though our biennial budget is about $32 billion, that's how much is actually churning through that account in a biennial period. So the thought is, why should we let Bank of America make money off of our money? Why don't we create our own institution? We make money off of our money, and then we still control the money, so we can use it as leverage to get our economy going back in our local communities again. I mean, it just makes all the sense in the world. That's the concept. Economic development tool, smart use of taxpayers' dollars for the taxpayers. But really, the vision is over the long run. So the model is, there's one state in the country, you probably all know that. North Dakota has its own bank, right? They're 91 years old now. If we can look down the road 91 years from now and do as well as the Bank of North Dakota has, even though it's had its own trials and tribulations over the period, we will have amassed such a capital base for our children and our grandchildren that they could survive economic depressions like what we're going through right now. So if you look at any other developing country in the world, the reason that they're able to develop is they have their own banks. You look at Japan, they're going to be able to rebuild after their disaster over there because they can leverage their money back into their own economy. You look at Brazil, India, China, Germany. They all have their own public institutions that the people belong to the people. So it's one of those no-brainer kind of things. Unfortunately, there still are a couple of people who don't think it's necessarily in the state's best interests, or maybe not in their own best interests. I'm not sure.
There are some people that think that's not in the state's best interest or our own best interest, but those people would be paid by the banks and lobbying for the banks and the bankster gangsters themselves. So think about it. A state infrastructure bank, Linda Boyd, who's been working with Representative Hasagawa, estimates that we're talking about $960 million a year. If the money, the billions and billions that go into Bank of America, that it then uses were to be used for infrastructure. And imagine, did you find that, Winco Foods? Yeah. Yeah, so imagine if when we democratize the workplace and do something like Winco Foods up, and where are they located? In, is it Everett or Mill Creek? It's not too far from me. It's an employee-owned business. So instead of some capitalist or some bankster making money off people's labor, if we brought people's labor back and used the state infrastructure bank in order to support that, can you imagine how wonderful that would be? Well, you got something to say, buddy?
Yeah, I was just wondering who are these bankster gangsters? Like, you keep calling them that, but I want to know actually who they are. What do you mean by them?
At the moment, they're a group of foreign, international, very, very rich families. And they own the international banks that own the Federal Reserve. They have so much money and so much capital that they're able to use that capital to push around people economically. And in essence, they've set up a system that we talked about in the other things of debt slavery. But that's what we're going to free ourselves from in this brand new year, 2012. And it gets more exciting because the I want you to know that the rabbit hole goes very deep. There's a brand new movie out, and you want to be prepared to really look at what could happen if we had limitless free energy. Just picture that for a minute. Take a deep breath. And picture a little box outside your house, and this box runs your greenhouse and your car, and there's no more oil having to be shipped over. There's no more wars for oil because we have released the free energy technologies. You ready on this one on my computer?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do this one. Let's see if it's out. Oh, it runs. This one's exciting. This is for the movie Thrive. Movie theaters.
My name is Foster Gamble, and I have spent nearly a lifetime trying to figure out what happened that could account for the staggering agony and deprivation on this planet. I set out on a journey seeking to answer questions like, is it even possible for humans to thrive? I found a code, a pattern in nature that's been embedded in arts, icons throughout the centuries.
Yes, there have been crashed craft and bodies recovered.
But who do you tell that you were involved in a UFO incident without them looking at you like you ain't wrapped too tight?
It's not etched into the rock, it's not carved, it's burned into the atomic structure in some extraordinary way.
I believe that they're giving us a model for accessing energy in a clean, safe, limitless way that could completely revolutionize the way all people live.
Right here in this toroid, we have enough energy to transform the entire Earth. And that's not just a theoretical statement, it's literally true.
The energy is extracted from the fabric of the space around us, which means it cannot be metered. That is a direct threat to the single largest industry in the world, energy.
The suppression of UFO phenomena is hand in hand with the suppression of so-called free energy.
An elite group of people and the corporations they run have gained control over not just our energy, food supply, education, and healthcare, but over virtually every aspect of our lives.
The way the system of medicine is set up, medical education is funded by pharmaceutical companies.
We have a privately owned central bank system disguised as a government-owned system.
There is no other agency of government which can overrule actions that we take.
It gives them the ability to print money in a way that the insiders are protected and everybody else is trained.
No matter where you go in the world, he who controls the money controls the world.
The time has come to say enough. There is another way.
If you want alternative energy, you don't ask an oil economy to produce it for you. We have to produce it.
The power of the internet enables us to share the depth of this research.
There is an extraordinary, fierce group of people who are taking this on.
We can make a real difference right now.
The simple power of truth.
We're not nearly as insignificant in our impact as we think we are.
There is a force that's more powerful, and that's the power of the people.
We can create a world where people can thrive.
Thrive. What on earth will it take? Be a part of the conversation. Be a part of the solution.
ThriveMovement.com. Imagine, okay, it's time to go all the way down the rabbit hole. It was 25 years ago that I first met William Cooper, and I was a teenager, and he was giving lectures in Los Angeles, and former Navy intelligence officer, and he was spilling the beans about what's really going on the planet. I wrote a song. I'm a songwriter. I wrote a song, and he liked it so much that I got to sing it for his lectures. Now, they began spilling the beans a while ago. You saw Stephen Greer on there. Yes, the rabbit hole is that deep. Yes, ETs are real. I don't know if you noticed passing by on that there was Edgar Mitchell. astronaut, Apollo moonwalker, and astronaut Edgar Mitchell is coming forward along with 5 other astronauts and hundreds of high-level people to say that that they're telling us the truth about ETs for one reason. And they say so in the Disclosure Project, disclosureproject.org. What they say is, we're only telling you about ETs because you won't believe us that they're hiding free energy from you unless we show you that they're hiding something this massive. So if you look at what's going on the planet, there's been a massive cover-up of the ET phenomenon for the basic reason of keeping the oligarchy in power and keeping us from discovering the free energy. In the last show, if you watched last week's show, we showed you a piece from the Electric Universe, Thunderbolts of the Gods. It's an amazing documentary about how we've literally been told a lie about how the universe works for 100 years to keep Nikola Tesla's theories from being used to create free energy. When you talk about thriving, when you talk about the world thriving, imagine what energy democratized would do. Imagine that you could desalinate all the water you wanted. That's just energy intensive. Pull the salt out of all the seawater you wanted, pump it into the deserts, and bloom the deserts. Many of the deserts that are on this planet used to be forests, they've found. The desertification of the planet would end apace. If we democratize the production of hemp paper, for instance, and we can grow hemp easily, not marijuana, although we're for that as well, but its distant cousin hemp has been kept from us because it would be so useful in keeping us from cutting down trees. But imagine if you had all the energy that you wanted, and you could, in your own backyard, do something like Will Allen did in his backyard, and where I'm learning how to work with the technology here, but here we go. Let's listen to Will Allen talk about what you can do with energy in your backyard to feed yourself and your family all year long.
My vision really has always been that every person on earth should have access to the same healthy food. I grew up on a farm right outside of Washington, D.C., so I've always been involved in agriculture. We're a year-round food producer. For growing this kind of stuff, we're the largest year-round producer in the state of Wisconsin and maybe one of the largest in the Midwest, and we're a nonprofit. So we're able to grow throughout the winter inside these greenhouses without heat by using the compost piles as the heating source. This is a worm depository where we're growing biomass of worms. These worms are kind of the lifeblood of our growing. On the one side, we've got 10,000 tilapia in there in warm water, and there's the heater that heats the water, that heats the entire greenhouse in the wintertime. And then we've got lake perch grown in cold water over here, and you can't commercially fish for them in Lake Michigan. That's mercury contaminated. We're able to grow these, and these fish runs, one pump operates this entire system. We lift water up, gravity takes it this way on both levels, and it drops back into the system. So this is a very efficient way of growing food. This is ag of the future, ag of now, because we're doing it now, but ag of the future. In this greenhouse, so we're taking, say, 3,000 square feet and turning it into 4,500 square feet of growing space by using vertical growing. So that's going to be very important in the future of how we use this high space inside cities. And what we're talking about is knowing who your farmers are, knowing how your food is produced. We're engaging young people of all ages, from 8 years old to 40 years old, to really become these farmers of the future. Besides a food crisis, we have an absolute health crisis that strikes the people that have the less. The first place that people cut is food in their families, because they got to pay their mortgages, they got to try to stay in their houses. So the first thing they do is cut food, which hurts people's health. Our Market Basket program is a program of $16. You get a bag of food, 12 to 14 items, and that food is dropped into any community, any food insecure communities. For a family of 4, you give them all the fruits and vegetables they need for a week. It really changed the dynamic of how people access food, how people eat food, and it gets people back to cooking at home. I don't really think that we can build communities without healthy food systems. I just don't see how we can.
Yay! everyone. So here we are, the brand new year, 2012, the one we've been waiting for since the Mayans made calendars. And here we are looking at a complete transformation of society. We're looking at the democratization, the ending of the privatization of the commons, the ending of private prisons and private warfare and privatizing. They're going to try and steal that stuff from us. They call it austerity. Watch for that word, austerity. I'm writing a song about it. Austerity, what that means is starve the people to feed the banksters. Take more money from little people, give it to the powerful people who have just decided on a piece of paper that you owe them all the money they do. So the exciting thing is you don't really owe them all that money. And the truth is that with limitless energy, you can grow food in your backyard. Keith, you ever see that documentary, Peak Oil? The one about Cuba? How about you? Don, did you see that one?
No, I have not.
It's a terrific documentary. What they did is they tried to starve Cuba. When the Soviet Union collapsed, Cuba was dependent on them for their cheap oil. And so what they did is they did a blockade of Cuba to try and starve it out because there's no central bank in Cuba, and they don't like the idea of all sorts of. I'm not saying Castro's a great guy. What happened is the people were starving because they didn't have oil for their tractors for their farms. So Castro got together all the people who knew how to work with oxen, and he set up oxen training camps all around the country. And everybody started growing oxen, and then they started growing their own food by using the oxen to till the fields. And the strangest thing happened was oxen's feet are better for the fields than tractor tires, and oxen's poop is better for the fields than tractor exhaust. And so they went from starving to exporting organic produce to Latin America because of the necessity of it. Well, we have more neat stuff on this. I don't know if you've ever heard of Pons and Fleischmann. Pardon me. Pons and Fleischmann were two guys 20 years ago that said, oh my gosh, we've discovered cold fusion, fusion on a tabletop. The entire world's going to change. There is a terrific documentary. WantToKnow.info is the place where you go for all the great documentaries. WantToKnow.info. It's a terrific documentary on cold fusion. WantToKnow.info. That's right. There's a terrific documentary that talks about how the media went nuts calling these guys crackpots. And even though Tokyo, Stanford, and MIT all duplicated their results and showed that in fact they were onto something, the media acted like they weren't onto anything. And in the documentary, there's an MIT professor that successfully sued MIT for falsifying his data and saying that he had not found the Pons and Fleischmann were telling the truth, when in fact he had found that they were telling the truth. So here's one on the ECAT and Andrea Rossi in Bologna. Cold fusion commercial reactor rolling off.
And we will open the box of the reactor to check anything that is inside. You will see that inside there is only a very small reactor, and for all the rest there are wings to exchange heat with the water. This is the control panel, and these are the temperatures which are going on inside the reactor. The reactor is that one, which is inside that big silver box. The big silver box is a heat exchanger. When it will produce steam, the steam will go in that heat exchanger. And this heat exchanger will exchange the heat between the steam, which is produced by the reactor, and the water, which comes from the grid. From the delta T and the flow of the water, we will calculate the energy that we will produce.
I became surprised and very interested immediately. And I have never heard about that until this winter. And then I've been very curious. So to some extent it is a revolution. Some are skeptical, some are positive. I belong to them. So that's nice. So I'm here as an observer and how to see how it works in practical details. Some training, some smaller modification perhaps, but it's almost a ready product.
Wait, go right. We're just getting to the talking part. You know.
Me myself, I had some question marks on how the temperature was measured in the secondary circuit, and but overall, you know, when you do this kind of test, you observe lots of things. We had a very long test today. After a couple of hours, when we had input electrical energy, we cut away the input energy, and the machine ran for 3.5, almost 4 hours in self-sustained mode with no energy input. And still after 3 hours and a half, you could put your hand on the ECAT, and you know, it was 85 centigrades on the top, between 60 and 85 centigrades on the top, and you feel the water boiling inside after 3 hours. And also made another measurement, seeing how much water came out of the primary circuit to have a rough calculus of the energy in that way. And it all sums up to you know, an energy production, a power of average 2, 3, or 4, even maybe 5 kilowatts after 3 hours with no electrical power input, and that's impressive. I have to say that.
The results today have been good, and the test has been good, even if I have seen many things to be corrected under an engineering point of view. I have seen that some gasket did not work properly, and some correction has to be made to be perfect, and but I am pretty satisfied because it has been a long but a very useful day. We made a calorimetric measure which has been very robust, and the simplicity of the circuit made very easy to make very easy calculations. So I am pretty satisfied.
Well, that was fairly important because this model of the ECAT is much larger and much heavier than the previous ones that we've seen in the test so far. And you know, having a big box, very heavy one, it's easy to have ideas that inside you can hide whatever kind of stuff, an energy source or something that magazines that collects energy and keeps it in their heat. And opening was important.
How about that? Since J.P. Morgan withdrew his funding from Nikola Tesla because Nikola Tesla wanted to provide free energy to everyone and J.P. Morgan didn't see any money in that, since J.P. Morgan went and paid a lot of money to have the textbooks rewritten, so we were not told the truth about how the universe works. We don't live in a gravitic universe. We showed that last week. If you go to Thunderbolts of the Gods and look at that amazing documentary, you'll find that out. Since that happened, we have had basically the oil and energy monopoly sit on anybody who created any type of device that was basically energy. But there are too many holes in that sinking boat anymore. They can't plug them all. They can't stop Andrea Rossi. They stopped Stan Meyer and his water-fueled car, but I know of several people who are running cars on water. The time is coming when we're literally going to transform this planet, and they're going to push back. They're pushing back. What, you know, I think they're going after the internet. I think they're going after. Yeah, the SOPA's going to take down stuff that they don't like. They're going after our constitutional liberties. But we're going to win. Our community is going to win because even though the giant Titanic is sinking, we're going to build lifeboats. And those lifeboats are going to be the democratization of energy food production and currency. Started with Francis, moved on to aquaponics, and these are just some ideas. These are just the ideas that I could put together in a show like this happening right now. What do you think?
Is that going to be the democratization or the privatization, as in individually built, individually used energy source? It sounds like that's what it's coming to, but we might have to change our backyards a little bit, but it's, as long as we have our backyards, that's going to be half the cost right there. Some place to put it in.
Well, the exciting thing is, when a lot of people tried to apply for patents, there have been patents for free energy devices. And again, wanttoknow.info and their energy thing, you just all over the place. And they've tried to apply for patents for it. The United States government has said, I'm sorry, those patents are classified national security. You can't have a patent. There already is one, and it's in a vault in Colorado Springs and not available for national security purposes. So when I say the democratization, I mean the democratization of the process. Because you can't patent a process yet. They'll probably figure out a way. They're patenting our genes now. But you can't patent a process, and if enough people learn about this and learn that this is possible, we're going to start seeing these, all over the place. And a couple of kids that traveled through our community all over the world. They were really neat. There's a documentary about them coming up. They were at a community in Ireland that ran off a machine that somebody had built, and they said, because I talk about this with everybody, I talked to them about it, and they said that they spoke to the people about it, and the people said, "Oh no, we don't talk about it. We keep this on the down low. We're not interested in publicity or patents or taking this any place. What we're interested in is just powering our community for free."
Yeah,
and I think that's going to happen more and more.
Is that a community like 500,000, 1,520, or 2,000? A small.
Yeah, smaller community. Yeah, it was a co-op. One of those. They were visiting communities like ours, the one that Corey and I live in. Around the world. Actually, they're pretty interesting.
Well, and also when you say water, that's probably technically Brown's gas.
The car running
and
on
then
water.
the other question you asked me to look up was with Winco. It's they have 80 stores in Washington, Idaho, California, Nevada, Oregon, and Utah, with about 14,000 employee owners. That's not small.
No.
So, what was it? Southwest Airlines, as an airline, they try to get everybody to work in every position to try to get the same effect, but it's still privately owned, or it's a corporation. But you're saying the employees actually own it.
Yeah, they're the stockholders. I think I heard of either that or a different model, and something we'll look into in further shows. I'm going to be going and doing some filming and talking to the people at Winco, and as soon as we have that technical expertise, and we can come in here and I can bring film and chat with them. But I heard about one model where nobody was paid more than anybody else. Didn't matter what you did. If you were the CEO, you got paid the same as a janitor. Well,
who knows? Maybe one week you're the CEO, another week you're the janitor.
Yeah, if you move around from position to position, that sounds interesting, depending on your skill set. But imagine that for a model for the country. Imagine that for a thrilling model. We've already got co-ops as far as banks are concerned. We've got credit unions. Are those are basically, are they employee owned, or are they like PCC? Are they consumer owned?
Consumer. Yeah, like BECU, I was looking that up, and it is, I believe, 15th. And there's a credit union in California that's the fifth largest credit union. So that is substantial.
That sure is.
It doesn't seem like a small or a large company, BECU. It seems like it might be domineering in this area. Boeing Employees Credit Union, of course it should be. But to be number 15 in the nation, consumer-driven.
They don't have that derivatives exposure. They don't. I mean, when Bank of America has $75 trillion of derivative exposure being dumped on the American taxpayers, And Ben Bernanke's walking into Europe and saying, we're just going to give, without any oversight, we're going to give European banks all our money. I think we really are talking about a major collapse of the economic system.
Yeah, but
I don't see any way around it.
Are you talking derivative driven, or are you talking fee driven difference?
No, derivative driven. They had $75 trillion in derivatives.
I mean, the other bigger banks, they put in the fee, but the the smaller credit unions or the credit unions don't have to put little fees here and here and here. And
they aren't trying to they gamble with the money so extensively, and they aren't trying to pay out such a massive profit to the 1%, the people at the top who are kind of stealing the money from all of us.
And I did talk to my nephew who works for one of the bigger banks as a teller, and he did say that his boss told him, well, we have to pay attention to our fees and charge the fees. That's how we make our money.
That's how we make our money.
Yeah.
Isn't that something? We watched the Move Your Money video in one of the previous shows. You've seen that one, the real good one, with Mr. Potter and George Bailey, based on It's a Wonderful Life? That terrific little vignette? You were here when we watched that, weren't you?
The real subtleties, I don't think, are brought out in it, unless you really know what the subtleties are ahead of time.
Like what?
The difference between the Federal Reserve and the small community banks, and how the difference in how the two operate. The one actually has, you might say, cold hard cash, and the Federal Reserve Bank has debt. There's nothing really to back it.
Yeah. Well, and the idea of smaller banks, they have more of an interest in. I honestly think banking ought to be commons. I think it ought to be considered commons. Why on earth the profit motive has to be involved? I'm glad that we have something that doesn't do a profit motive in that regard.
Well, the issues of money is done by the Federal Reserve, which is about as private as you can get, and not even American. So
that's right. You look
that's
at the
our system here. How are you going to change that when they control everything and they abide by the golden rule? Them that got the gold makes the rules.
Yeah, gold.
And so we got a problem here. How are we going to get up to the utopia from the pit?
But the big thing is the violation. I believe it's Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. Congress, it's the duty of Congress, not the duty of Congress to shove it over to some other location.
About coining money.
To regulate to coin money and to regulate the value thereof.
Has Congress goofed? Have they relinquished their responsibilities to private bankers because they can make some money on the side and be some of the richest people in the country here?
I think that's why I like to talk so much about local. I think it is so utterly broken on a national level that our only hope is to build communities and build little state banks. I'd like to think we might be able to do it on a state level. I'd like to think that our lifeboat could be that big,
But the trouble in all this, I'm not hearing, except for one person, any conversations from the presidential candidates about the Federal Reserve and what's actually going on there. And the
except Ron Paul, of course.
I wasn't going to mention that, but yeah, that's the person. That seems, especially when the contracts will be coming up here very shortly. So it should be looked at. And I don't know why it's not a bigger debate. And if somebody says they're conservative and it's not in the front of their mind on the debate, I don't know if they can really be counted as conservative. If, in fact, conservative means you're following the Constitution as much as possible or trying to adhere to it, that's a big question.
Well, I don't think you can. I know you've said before, Keith, that you define conservatives following the Constitution, but I don't think that necessarily. I'm a progressive and or liberal and conservative. I'm an Eisenhower Republican, and if I'm anything,
You're following. Was it Gingrich? That's what he said too.
Gingrich is a big fat pile of lies. But following the Constitution isn't necessary. But we dropped the Constitution a long time ago, and with the Federal Reserve, that was I think the first hugest, biggest abrogation.
1913.
1913.
Yeah. Coming up for renewal.
It's going. They're not going to talk about it again because of the privatization of the commons in the voting machines. On the last week's show, we showed the clip from Murder, Spies, and Voting Lies or Hacking Democracy. If you haven't seen either of those incredible documentaries, Hacking Democracy or Murder, Spies, and Voting Lies, or if you haven't gone to bradblog.com and looked at, we've privatized the voting system. By the time this show airs, we're going to find out whether or not they have stolen the Iowa caucus from Ron Paul with their fancy, they're moving it from, they've decided, in the funniest twist of irony, the Republicans finally have decided that their vote system is hackable, so they're going to move it someplace where only they can hack it. Somebody could hack it here, so we're going to move it here, and we're the only ones that can hack this completely unverifiable.
Well, then if we have that, then Putin's going to come down on us because he's being accused of, was it December 4th election over in Russia, that being hacked. And he's being accused of hacking the presidential election, which is in probably another 2 months over there as well. So if we do have that, there's going to be some international, you might say, discipline going in that area.
And it won't make one bit of difference. No, you think they'll
Did
care?
it make a difference in Russia?
No, here it won't make any difference. I mean,
okay.
All the international condemnation in the world didn't stop Dick Cheney and George Bush from their thieving. They were just thieves. It was a giant bank robbery. I love, Randy Rhodes is taking us. She's like, if they didn't frighten us with exploding cows and pens that would poison you, we would have noticed they were stealing.
I think that when they were doing it, we didn't notice. Alternative currency.
That's distraction, right?
Well, yeah. Which, Lao Tzu says.
Look over here while we're doing this over
war
yonder.
War is always deception. And again, it's the privatization of what should be the commons. The war should not be profited by. There used to be laws against war profiteering and bringing those back. What do you think? We're going to be able to do it on a state level? I mean, we've got
alternative energy. Alternative currency.
The building of the lifeboat. That's some kind of collapse is coming.
I think the only way we can do it is, or one way that should be considered or taken a look at, is our grains. We have a heavy grain reserve here,
anyway.
Thompson hay. I was at Anderson Hay too, I believe. We've got a whole bunch of apples, but that's stockpiled for a year. In essence, it's got to go after a year.
We got to run, folks. Hopefully, it was a good show for the first of the year. I think we had a lot of fun today. Learned some things, got into solutions. So carry on. This is going to be a great year. It can either be a great disaster or it could be a great opportunity. Let's make it an opportunity, folks.
Now before long, you're up to 10. And the process begins again. There is someone in the next town got the word and is spreading it around. Cause an idea, whose time has come, cannot be stopped by anyone. Plant your seeds in fertile ground. There ain't nothing gonna keep it down. We can do it, yes we can. We can change things throughout the land, but we all must lend a hand. We can do it, oh yes we can. We can do it, yes we can. We can change things throughout the land, but we all must lend a hand. We can do it, oh yes we can. We can do it, yes we can.